The rain was coming down in sheets that Tuesday evening, turning the city streets into rivers of reflection under the amber glow of streetlights. I was rushing home from another exhausting day at work, my designer heels clicking against the wet pavement as I navigated through puddles in my tailored coat. The glamorous life I'd built for myself, the corner office, the luxury apartment. The perfectly curated social media presence suddenly felt hollow as I hurried through the storm. That's when I heard it. A tiny, desperate mewing sound cutting through the symphony of rain and traffic. At first, I thought I'd imagined it, but there it was again, weak, pleading, barely audible above the storm. I stopped, my heart already knowing what my mind was trying to dismiss. Following the sound, I found myself crouching beside a narrow alley between two upscale boutiques. There, huddled against a cracked brick wall behind a dumpster, was the tiniest ball of matted fur I'd ever seen. A kitten, no more than a few weeks old, soaked to the bone and shivering uncontrollably. Its tiny body was so small it could fit in the palm of my hand, and its eyes, those beautiful, frightened blue eyes, looked up at me with a mixture of hope and desperation that shattered something deep inside my chest. "Oh my God," I whispered, not caring that my expensive coat was getting ruined as I knelt in the dirty alley. The little creature was clearly starving, its ribs visible through its wet, tangled fur. It tried to crawl toward me, but was too weak to move more than a few inches. Without hesitation, I gently scooped the kitten into my arms, feeling its fragile heartbeat against my palm. It was so cold, so incredibly small and vulnerable. I wrapped it in my silk scarf, the one I'd splurged on last month, because it matched my new handbag perfectly. None of that mattered now. Nothing mattered except getting this little soul to safety. The kitten nestled against my chest, and I felt its tiny body gradually stop shivering as my warmth reached it. In that moment, looking down at this helpless creature who had somehow found me in the vastness of the city, I realized that perhaps it wasn't coincidence. Perhaps we had found each other. I called in sick the next day, something I'd never done in my 5-year career. Instead of attending board meetings and answering endless emails, I spent the morning at the veterinary clinic. Dr. Martinez, a kind woman with gentle hands and knowing eyes, examined the kitten thoroughly. "She's severely malnourished and dehydrated," she explained, her voice soft but concerned. "But she's a fighter. With proper care, medication, and lots of love, she should make a full recovery." My heart swelled with unexpected emotion. This tiny warrior was a little girl, and she had survived who knows how long on the streets all alone. I named her Luna for the way her silver-gray fur seemed to shimmer like moonlight, even when matted and dirty. The next few weeks transformed both our lives in ways I never could have imagined. My pristine, minimalist apartment, once featured in a home design blog, became a kitten sanctuary. Soft blankets replaced my stark black furniture covers. Toys scattered across my polished hardwood floors. The clinical perfection ID maintained gave way to something far more beautiful, a home filled with life and love. Luna required feeding every few hours at first, and I found myself setting alarms throughout the night. I'd stumble out of bed at 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., warming tiny bottles of kitten formula and watching her drink with determined little gulps. Her strength returned gradually, and with it, her personality began to shine through. She was curious about everything, batting at the designer curtains I'd once been so precious about, discovering that my collection of crystal paperweights made fascinating sounds when tapped with a tiny paw. She turned my one-serious video calls into inadvertent comedy shows, peering on camera at the most important moments, earning laughter and awes from colleagues who had only ever seen my professional facade. But it was in the quiet moments that Luna truly worked her magic. When work stress threatened to overwhelm me, she would somehow sense it and climb onto my lap, purring with a rumble that seemed impossibly large for her tiny frame. When loneliness crept in, something I'd never admitted to anyone in my Instagram perfect life, she would curl up beside me, her presence a reminder that I was no longer alone. 3 months after that rainy night, Luna had transformed from a dying street kitten into a healthy, playful, absolutely gorgeous cat. Her fur had grown in thick and lustrous, silver with striking darker markings that looked like she was wearing a designer mask. Her blue eyes had deepened to an enchanting sapphire shade that seemed to hold ancient wisdom, but the real transformation had been mine. My friends began commenting on the change in me. "You seem lighter," my best friend Sarah observed over coffee. "Happier. More? I don't know. More like yourself." She was right. Caring for Luna had awakened something in me I didn't even know was sleeping. The rigid perfectionism that had driven my success had softened into something more authentic. The loneliness I'd masked with designer purchases and social media posts had been replaced by genuine connection. I started volunteering at the local animal shelter on weekends, something my old self would have considered a waste of precious personal time. I fostered 2 more kittens that winter, watching Luna become a patient, nurturing big sister to the newcomers. My apartment, once a showpiece, became a haven not just for rescue animals, but for friends who wanted to escape their own perfectly curated but empty lives. The day I realized Luna had saved me as much as I'd saved her was the day she brought me something special. I was working late, stressed about a presentation, when she appeared at my desk carrying a small, crumpled piece of paper in her mouth. It was the receipt from that first vet visit. Somehow she'd found it. Somehow she knew. I looked at that receipt, then at Luna sitting proudly beside my laptop, her tail swishing contentedly, and I began to cry. Happy tears. Grateful tears. Because this little creature had taught me that the most glamorous life isn't the one that looks perfect from the outside. It's the one filled with love, purpose, and genuine connection. Today, Luna is my constant companion, my little shadow who follows me from room to room, my alarm clock who wakes me with gentle head bumps instead of harsh buzzing. She's taught me that kindness is never wasted, that sometimes the most broken things become the most beautiful, and that love, real, unconditional love, is the most glamorous accessory anyone can wear. When people ask me about that night in the rain, I tell them I went out to save a kitten and came home with a best friend. But the truth is more profound than that. Luna didn't just become my companion, she became my teacher, showing me that in helping others, we often find exactly what we didn't know we were missing. She's curled up beside me as I write this, purring her approval of our story. Because it is our story, a tale of 2 souls who found each other in the storm and discovered that sometimes the most unexpected encounters lead to the most extraordinary friendships. Like and subscribe for more videos.